I'm Christy Osborne, and I'm with Mountainside Media. In this session, we're going to talk about the secret formulas to unstoppable social media ads. So today, what I want to talk to you about are three basic things, and I'm going to break down all the steps that you need to take and think about to have successful ads. I want to talk about what successful brands are doing right now to create a successful ad strategy. I want to talk a little bit about how to tailor your campaign so that you can attract your ideal client every time. And then I also want to talk to you about the secret weapon of ads, and that is timing, especially in the event industry. By the end of this session, I really want you to have a strategy in place in order to start planning out your own successful ad campaigns. Now, with that, I want to talk a little bit about what we're not going to do in this presentation. This is not a technical rundown of how to navigate your ads manager, your Facebook business manager. This is not how to set up a Facebook page. This is not how to set up your ads. There's actually really no tech involved in that. And the reason for that is because Facebook, which owns Instagram, changes their platform and their algorithm nearly daily, weekly, maybe monthly. The point is that if I show you the tech now and you go back to it and that tech has changed, you're just going to be left frustrated. Now, here's the deal. You are always one Google or YouTube search away from finding the technical answers. That's what I do when Facebook Ads Manager changes and I'm like, where is this? Is it moved? Has it disappeared forever? I go to Google and YouTube and get on some discussion forums and ask my colleagues if they're seeing the same changes. So you can always handle the tech. The tech is easy. There's tons of videos out there to help you handle the tech. What isn't always readily available out there is the strategies. And these are the strategies you're going to need to make any tech work. You can figure out the tech, but if you don't have the strategy, but you know how to use Facebook's back end, your ads still probably won't work. However, if you have a good strategy in place and the tech changes, you can just look up how to do the new tech and your strategies will last. So the framework that I'm going to share with you today is evergreen. It's going to outlast algorithm changes. It's going to outlast technology changes. And the secret is, and this is the secret for any ad, not just social media ads, any ads, print ads, directory listings, your email newsletter, your organic social media. All advertising and marketing comes down to three basic steps. You target the right audience with the right message at the right time. All marketing and advertising hinges on that. If you get one of those things wrong, your ads aren't going to work. Your marketing isn't going to work. So that's the right audience with the right message and the right time. And I'm going to really dive deeply into why timing can make all the difference between successful ads and failing ads. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about some big and common mistakes I see when it comes to wedding and event pros setting up their Facebook ads. Okay, the first story is a story about outsourcing. I had a client come to me and she was reluctant and figured that Facebook and Instagram ads just didn't work anymore. But she heard me on a podcast and she decided to reach out and see if I had anything to say about why her ads were failing. And she got on a strategy call with me and I started asking her a whole bunch of questions about her target markets and her messaging and any kind of sales funnel that she hadn't been incorporating. And she said, I don't know. I just let my ads person handle that. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, who's your ads person? And she said, oh, he's some guy I found on Fiverr. And I said, okay, great. Well, let's just take a look at under the hood. Let me log into your business account and we'll take a look at your ads. And I logged in and the ads were so bad. It was cheesy stock images, cheesy language about, your fairy tale wedding and things that just feel really old and out of date and antiquated. And I said, what strategy is behind this kind of messaging? And she said, oh, I don't know, my ads guy does that. And I was like, okay, is there a way I could talk to your ads guy? And she said, he doesn't really speak good English. He's from Denmark. I found him on Fiverr. And the lesson here is a little bit of a lesson in outsourcing. It's your responsibility as a business owner to focus on your messaging, your strategy for target markets and messaging, so that you can guide somebody that you outsource. But also, because this guy from Denmark wasn't in the wedding and event industry, didn't really speak great English, was probably cheap, but what happened was she was delivering the wrong messaging to an audience. She could have been targeting the exact right people who would want to work with her, but because she didn't focus on the messaging, she lost. The second mistake that I want to talk about that I see happen even more commonly than the first mistake is I had a client come to me and she was doing a local wedding show and she needed to get a whole bunch of couples to attend the show. She had lined up all the vendors, she had done all the things, and she needed a whole bunch of couples to show up. The show was 3 weeks away. And we ran ads and she was very disappointed. Some people came, a lot of people didn't come. She was very disappointed in the ads, in the ad performance. But the reality is when you run ads to cold audiences weeks before you need, or days before you need them to take action, you are going to have to spend a lot of money to get any kind of lift. And most small local wedding businesses don't have big, $15,000, $30,000, $60,000 a month budgets. And so she was spending $300 on a 3-week campaign, and it was just flat because she didn't take the time beforehand to warm up her audience. And this was an issue with the audience. It was a cold audience, meaning nobody knew about her. She hadn't built up any authority. And it was also a timing issue. They didn't have enough time to vet and evaluate her. And so we're going to talk about how to address both of those issues in this session. Some other of my favorite Facebook and Instagram ad failures include inefficient targeting. So I see people in the wedding and events industry targeting 18 to 65-year-olds all the time. Those are likely not your engaged, and they're engaged, right? So that's likely not the best targeting. I also see a lot of vendors just packing their interests full of random interests. Like she likes cupcakes and she likes to read Oprah magazine and she likes weddings and all of these random things. Now, I understand the impulse behind that, using your ideal client avatar to target properly, but you want to target in buckets or affinity groups and test those audiences, because the problem with just dumping 30 random interests into a Facebook ad is if your ads are failing, you don't know if it's a targeting issue, which one of those interests are causing the ads to fail. And on the flip side, if your ads are really winning, you're probably not sure how to replicate that because you don't know which of those interests are winning. And the reason why this is important, especially for winning ads, is because if you knew which interest was winning or which set of interests were winning most powerfully, you could trim all the fat and probably get better ad value out of it. You spend less to get more. So that's one. Also, really crappy ads, like my first example of that client that totally ignore customer intent. And we're going to talk about how to hit customer intent and think about the timing of customer intent. Also, ignoring the fact that along the customer journey in the events industry or in any industry, you need 6 to 9 touch points before somebody's going to take action. That means that they need to see an ad 6 to 9 times before they'll actually do anything. And also, because of ad burnout, that often shouldn't be the same ad. You also want to make sure that you build audience and build relationships with your audience early. Last minute ads rarely work unless you have got your messaging and your targeting dialed and you have a really healthy budget. So if you have $1 a day ad spend and you are going to run out of money this month, the ads probably won't work well for you. It takes a little bit of time and a little bit of budget to test everything out and to hit a sweet spot with your audience. And it also takes a little bit of time to cultivate that relationship with your audience. And related to that, I see a lot of panic advertising that's last minute and it's just book now, book now, book now, book now. And again, related to that audience building, they probably don't know enough about you to make that decision. So as you're saying book now, they might respond to that in some way, but they might need to do a little bit more research. So I'm going to talk to you about how to keep them on the hook from the time they get engaged and start thinking about their weddings and what inspires them to how they research and vet you and your competitors all the way down to that booking decision. So before we dive right into that ad strategy, I just want to remind you of Facebook's #1 goal. Facebook's goal on the Facebook and the Instagram platform is to keep people on their platform. That's it. They do not care about your ad spend. They do not care how much money you have to spend if you are going to deliver crappy ads that nobody pays attention to. If they cannot keep their audience on their platform, your advertising dollars don't work. And so it's always going to be a priority for them to keep people on their platform. Exacerbating the whole situation is your real competition is not the wedding planner down the street or the photographer up the road. You are competing with babies, puppies, kittens, family members, people's holidays and trips. You are in a crowded newsfeed that does not favor businesses. So you really want to understand your place in the big social media ecosystem as a business. And one way that I found is really effective in doing that is to actually write your ads the way you would write your organic posts. You want them to be so compelling and so juicy that people don't really notice they're being advertised to. They want your content, they're super interested in what you do, you can solve their problem, and when you show up and interrupt their regular feed, they're excited to see you there. Also, the better your content is, the more engaged your audience is. The more engaged your audience is, the cheaper it is to run ads. And the best part is if you cultivate an engaged audience on these platforms, or even people who love visiting your website, you can retarget to them later. And retargeting also is a relatively inexpensive way to warm up leads and get them hot to buy. So just keep in mind, one of my favorite copywriters, Sonia Simone, says that even though you're paying to play, you still have to publish good content. So that's kind of the #1 rule that supersedes all of the other rules. Because this is what I see time and time again that nobody really wants to admit about Facebook advertising when their ads don't work, and that is that their ads suck. They are boring. They're phoned in. They're not creative. There's low engagement. Nobody cares. Nobody's there. It's a constant focus on selling. Book now, book now, book now, book now. And so it might not be Facebook that sucks. It might be you. So again, with your amazing content that feels natural and organic, the name of the game is going to be getting in front of the right audience with the right message, which is that really juicy content at the right time. So let's begin by talking about targeting and getting in front of that right audience. So when it comes to setting up those initial ads, I want to make you money, right? Like I want to make my clients money. So I start at the bottom. There's a lot of media buyers and advertisers that will set up a funnel and they'll do warm-up sequences and then lead generation and then do the sale later. Oftentimes, I don't have the time or the patience for that. So what I want to do is I want to see if and how I can get people to buy and to book immediately. And so I like to start at the bottom with a book now message, check out the numbers, and then move up from there to active evaluation with testimonials, and then also warming them up with some interesting content in the awareness phase. And I'm going to talk about those phases in a minute. But I just wanted to say to you, it's okay to start with a book now ad. The only caveat I have is objectives. When you go into Facebook and in the back end, you always have to set an ad objective. And the cheapest ads are always going to be traffic, engagement, awareness. You can run those for $1 a day, and oftentimes they actually won't lead to any inquiries. And here's why. Facebook knows an awful lot about us right now. They know who's likely to visit a website to read a blog post. They know who's likely to just scroll past an ad. They know who's likely to click and like something. And they also know who's likely to sign up for a form and or buy. So when you set your objective and you tell Facebook that you want brand awareness, Facebook will deliver ads to people who will likely keep on scrolling, not engage with your brand, not visit your website, not inquire, because what they're looking for is just eyeballs and impressions. So if you are going to go for inquiries, those bottom of funnel inquiries, it is really important for you to use bottom of funnel objectives. And those objectives are going to be leads, right? It's going to be if somebody hits your thank you page, then that is a goal achieved. Don't set your goals as traffic if you want inquiries. Don't set your goals as engagement or brand awareness if you want inquiries. Okay, so let's talk about this secret weapon for getting people to actually inquire, and that is setting up custom audiences. When you're first starting out with social media advertising, you always want to target the warmest audience that you possibly can. These are likely people who already know a little bit about you and have likely engaged in your brand. So to set up custom audiences, you do want to go into the back end of Facebook's Business Manager, and under Assets, you will find an option to click on Audiences. And from there, you're going to see a lot of different options for setting up custom audiences. There's a couple that I use over and over and over again in the wedding and events industry. One of the warmest, almost hottest audiences that you have is from your interest list. So if you're one of those types of people that have a lead magnet or some sort of PDF download and you have a larger list, you can upload that list to Facebook and advertise to those people. Now, a caveat with that is that you need to have a fairly sizable list, at least over 1,000 people that Facebook can match their emails. If you upload your list to Facebook and Facebook says that that list is less than 1,000 matches that they could find, it's a garbage trash list. Just ignore it. You can create a lookalike audience based on that instead, which is a little bit colder. It's more of a lukewarm audience. And the reason for that is because when Facebook says that they have less than 1,000 matched people, you don't know if it's 999 or 9, right? You have no idea. And so it could be close to 1,000, which might make the ads more effective and successful, and it could be 2 people. So if you see it's less than 1,000, just delete it. The way to upload an interest list is you go to the customer file option, and it will give you an option to upload a CSV file. From there, Facebook will try to match those email addresses. Another caveat with that is that I don't know about you, but I don't have the same login email address for Facebook and Instagram. I joined Facebook right after college and never really changed my email address, so it's not actually the email address that I use. And so if Facebook matched that email address to my other email address, that matched the email address to the email address I gave you, I won't see your ads, right? Because that's not the email address I gave. There's no match in there. But if you can get more than 1,000 matches, this is a very, very hot, or not hot, but it's a very warm custom audience to create. Another custom audience I love creating is website traffic. Now, this is going to require you to put a little piece of code in your website called a Facebook pixel. But once you do, what you can do is target people who have visited your website, or you can target people who have visited a specific landing page, or you can exclude people who have visited something like a thank you page. So you can do a lot with website traffic, and that has its own icon in the create a custom audience. You just select website traffic, you choose your website, which is attached to the Facebook pixel that you installed, and you're in business. Related to website traffic, you can also create custom audiences based on landing page views. So if you just want to advertise to people who have hit your inquiry page in the past 6 months or in the past 4 months, you can set that up in the back end of Facebook. I would recommend that you have at least 2 core pages set up on your website. One is that landing page, that inquiry page, and one would be a thank you page. The thank you page is important because you can exclude ads from people who hit your thank you page, meaning that you stop advertising to them, or you change the advertising you're doing. Maybe you show them testimonials to get them excited about working with you. The landing page should be specific to your social media ads. And instead of just being a regular old form, like contact us form, you really want to focus on explaining, here's what you do, here's how it will transform your clients and make their weddings amazing, and then here's what to do next. And you want to have that information in because it's something called ad sent, in that when you're sending somebody off platform from the Facebook platform to your website, for example, you want to let them know, you want to remind them that they are in the right place. And so just having a couple of sentences or a little paragraph that says, welcome. You could even customize it to your social media ads and say, welcome Facebook people, welcome Instagram people, if you're advertising differently on those platforms. But just a general welcome that says, welcome, inquire now, here's who we are, here's our philosophy, here's what we can do for you, fill out the form below. You can also create custom audiences around page interactions. And I love this for 2020 because I find a lot of vendors who are coming to me have a lot more Instagram interactions now. They have people DMing them, they have people watching their stories, they have people interacting with their post content. And so you can create custom audiences based on those interactions on Instagram. And if you have people interacting with you on Facebook, you can do that as well. Everybody knows in 2020, video views are very hot. Live video, uploaded video, any kind of video, Facebook loves, the algorithm loves, it's getting a lot of interaction, it's getting a lot of delivery. And basically you can set up custom audiences that say, for people who watch more than 50% of my videos or watch more than 15 seconds of my videos, deliver these ads. So that's a really great way to get in front of a warmer audience. You can also focus on page fans and followers. So if they have opted in and raised their hand to follow you on social media, you can target them. Now, what if you have none of that? What if your website traffic is low, you have no interest list, your social media engagement is in the gutter, you've got nothing? Listen, I get it. I work with clients all the time that are in the exact same boat. I've actually worked with clients where I've set up their page and started managing their organic posts from the get-go. And in that case, when we're advertising, we do geo-targets and engaged, which is what you should be doing anyway. And then we rely on an interest lists in order to do what we need to do. If you start to get a little bit of traction with those interests, so say they're interested in Martha Stewart weddings and maybe they're adventure couples, so they're interested in Patagonia and Olakai sandals and Subarus and Osprey backpacks. See what I did there? So instead of saying like cupcakes and backpacks and being all over the place, I narrowed it into an affinity set of just adventure couples, and I thought about the brands that they would particularly enjoy. Once you start to get some traction with those ads, you can start taking those audiences and creating lookalike audiences based on them. So if you have a cold audience that you created with interests and you set it for engagement, as soon as you start getting engagement, you can not only advertise to those people who engage with your brand, but you can also create a lookalike audience based on people who are most like the people who've engaged in your brand, and create custom audiences based on that. Now, I know this seems like a lot to take in, but it really boils down to targeting priorities. You want to prioritize your hottest and warmest audiences first, and then experiment with cold audiences. So when it comes to your hot audiences, if you have that interest list, people who have literally given you their email or some other piece of information that Facebook can map to, then that's a really great place to start. If you don't yet have that, start with the warmest audience you can. And that is, again, your web traffic, views on your videos that you've been creating, people who have interacted with your page, not just your fans, but people who may have liked your stuff but not actually liked your page. And then also people who have liked your page, obviously. And then you can move to those cold audiences where you're geo-targeting, you have lookalike audiences set up, and you're interest targeting. But always when you're first starting out with social media ads, you definitely want to start with the absolute warmest custom audience or warmest audiences that you have. Now let's talk about messaging. And in the events industry, messaging and timing go hand in glove when it comes to social media ads. And you want to make sure that you are delivering ads throughout the entire wedding planning journey. So the wedding planning journey for most people follow a very specific set of steps. So imagine it, your client just got engaged and the first thing they do after they tell all of their friends and family, the first thing they do is they start looking for inspiration. They have to make some basic decisions about how they want their wedding to look and feel before they can start booking vendors, right? So do they want a destination wedding or an at-home wedding? An intimate wedding or a big wedding? A woodsy wedding or a hotel ballroom wedding? Is it going to be formal? Is it going to be casual? How formal? During this stage, they are looking for inspiration. They're on Pinterest, they're on Instagram, they might be Googling some things about inspiration, they might be Googling destination-related inspiration things, and once they have an idea about how they want their wedding to look and feel, then they'll start researching their wedding. Now, oftentimes these steps certainly overlap. Instead of linear steps, they're more like concentric circles. But suffice to say is when they start their research, they're still likely not researching you. They're likely researching how much should I budget for photography, and what's the average price of a wedding, and how much do weddings cost in Miami, Florida, or whatever, but it's really general research. Once they start to get their bearings and they understand where they're going to get married and what kind of wedding that they want to have, that's when they start researching, vetting the vendors. That's when they're looking at your Instagram profile as a professional. They're looking at your website. They might be stalking you in other ways online and on social media, looking at your reviews. And here's the thing. They're also doing this with your competitors. So even if you win the inquiry after they've researched, so have 3, 4, 5 of your competitors. So what you want to do is be able to set yourself apart. And I'm going to talk about how to do that with ads in a minute. And then the final stages are, of course, enjoying the event and then sharing the event. Now the sharing, again, it overlaps with the event itself. They're likely snapping pictures of their wedding, of themselves, having fun, sharing that on social media. They certainly share on social media when they get the professional photos and videos, and then they're leaving reviews. And all of that can go into your future client's research phase. So when you think about that process, it can be condensed down into 3 basic areas. First is the awareness stage. Second is the consideration stage, and third is the decision-making stage. And you want to have different ads for each of these stages. So let's talk about them a little bit, what kind of ads you can make. So in the awareness stage, your job is to make a meaningful connection with your potential client in that audience that gets them eager for more information and eager to consume more of your ads and your content. So for the purposes of marketing, this entire wedding planning journey can be bucketed into 3 basic phases. You're going to want to create ads for each of these phases. The first is the awareness phase, and that's when you want to start creating a good relationship with your audience. You want them to not only know about you, but get excited about consuming future content, get excited about binging on all of your content and really anticipate the next pieces of content that you're going to produce. The second stage is consideration, and this is where you want to maintain interest and attention. You're going to educate, you're going to manage expectations, you're going to overcome any kind of objections through things like testimonials. And then the final stage is the decision stage, and that's where you're actually selling. So you want to have ads not just in the booking stage, in the decision-making stage that say book now, book now, book now, or now booking for 2021 or 2022. You actually want to have ads in those other stages as well. And the reason for this is you want your ads to follow your potential clients throughout their entire wedding planning journey. And if you can do that, if you can meet them where they're at, if they're looking for inspiration, give them inspiration, drive traffic to your blog. If they're looking for information, give them information. And then finally, when they're ready to make that booking decision, you're there with an offer to book. The point here is you want to dig your well before you're thirsty. You want to be constantly warming up audiences, even though you are always selling on social media with certain ads. You want to be constantly warming up those audiences and get them ready to make that booking decision with you, instead of just coming at them real quick and they don't even know you and you're like, book me. So let's talk about how to set up ads in the awareness stage. So generally the objectives that you want to have for the awareness stage are, you can run awareness ads, and that's just impressions. They're likely not going to click on your post. They're likely not going to go to your website or anything like that, but you can run awareness ads. I like to run traffic ads and video view ads at this stage, right? So it's a light ask. You are not asking for video views for them to leave the platform. If you are asking them to leave the platform for website traffic, make sure it's really, really compelling, juicy stuff that they are so excited about it, they want to leave their platform, which most people don't. And then also, I love running engagement ads at the awareness stage, and all I'm looking for are likes and comments on the posts. The ads that I like to run in the consideration phase are, again, video views and website traffic. But the difference is in the awareness stage, you're just offering them some content, you're trying to be useful, you're offering them some inspiration. And in the consideration stage, you're actually starting to tell the story about who you are, who your clients are, what you can do for people. One of the most powerful ads that you can run in the consideration stage are testimonials from previous clients, especially video testimonials. Because what you can do is, if they watch 15 seconds or 30 seconds of that testimonial, you can retarget them with more testimonials, or you can retarget them with some frequently asked questions, or you can retarget them with your own video saying, hey, I'm Amanda and here's what I do. So I love, love, love video testimonials and video for this stage, but you can also have a FAQ article on your website about Miami weddings and things that clients need to know about photography or the weather or whatever it is. The point is that during the consideration phase, they're in those two parts of the research. They're on the one hand researching their wedding in general, and on the other hand, they're researching likely you and other vendors like you. And so you want to show up in the consideration stage answering their questions. You truly want to make them feel like they are understood and seen and can be helped with your ads. So that is your job. And the best way to do that is driving traffic to your site. You can retarget website traffic, which is what we talked about. And then those video views, you can retarget according to view through. And then finally, in the decisions phase, these are your book now ads. These are the book now ads that you've likely set up in the beginning and started testing. And the objective is going to be conversions. So oftentimes you're going to want to add another piece of code called an event. It's an event code to your website on your thank you page that tells Facebook that when they hit that page, it's a conversion. And then you set your objective in that ad campaign to conversions. Again, do not use top of funnel objectives for bottom of funnel goals. You don't want to set that as traffic when you really mean conversions, because Facebook will likely send you people who want to consume content but aren't necessarily ready to book. So let Facebook help you help yourself. And again, you want to have a landing page for inquiries that reminds people of who you are, what you do for your clients, and what the people should do next in order to inquire with you. Just dumping them into a form page isn't good ad scent, again, because you're moving them from the social media platform to your website. You just want to remind them that they're in the right place. So once you have this strategy in place for building awareness, deepening the relationship during the consideration phase, and then closing the deal with your decision-making ads, you are going to want to test your ads. The biggest mistake that I see people make is they put one ad up and it's going to succeed or fail. Even if it feels successful, you don't know if that was the most successful ad you could have done. So it's best to test your ads each step of the way in each phase. And the way I do that is I like to test the copy, the headlines, the creative, which is your images, videos, carousels, and things like that. And then also, once I have things churning, I'll start setting up audience tests. I typically test 3 different headlines, 3 different pieces of content, a video, an image, a carousel. Sometimes I'll do 2 images and 2 videos, or 3 images and 1 video. I'll mix it up depending on what kind of assets I have. And then I like to test the copy. So I like to have long form copy of 2 or 3 paragraphs. And then I like to shorten that up into medium form copy, which would be a nice big paragraph. And then I like to shorten that even further to a nice pithy sentence or 2 tops. And I do all of these ad variations all at the same time. So I'll have headline 1, image 1, short copy, headline 2, image 1, short copy, headline 3, image 1, short copy. Then once I have the headlines for that, I'll go to headline 1, image 2, short copy, headline 1, image 3, short copy. So by the time you're done, you're going to have more than 40 ads in that ad set. And here's the deal. Facebook will learn really quickly what the duds are and what the duds aren't. Let Facebook learn. Do not start optimizing and turning off ads and modifying things until Facebook is done learning. Then once Facebook is done learning, you can look for the duds and start turning those off. And I like to do that every 3 days until I get a good solid set of about 3 ads per campaign. And the beauty of doing this is then I can start testing audiences and using those winning ads with lookalike audiences or custom audiences or things like that. The other tip is that Facebook doesn't like it when you start with like a $5 a day budget or a $10 a day budget, which are both really reasonable budgets for the testing phase for your ads. They don't like it when you increase your budget by more than 20%. So if you start out your ads with $5 and then you ramp it up to $100 a day, Facebook will kick back into that learning phase. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so you actually have everything you need right now to start creating your ad strategy, a successful ad strategy. You know how to target the right audience. You know a little bit about making sure you're crafting the right messaging based on where they are in the wedding planning journey. And you know a lot about timing and delivering ads at the right time based on where they are in the wedding planning journey. So now, a couple of next steps that I want you to make sure that you do soon. One, if you haven't already done so, set up that Facebook pixel in your website so that you can start collecting data and be able to retarget your website traffic. You also want to make sure that your landing pages and thank you pages are set up. Remember, I asked you to set up a different inquiry page for your social media ads that remind people of who you are, who your clients are, what you can do for them, and what to do next to do business with you. and then set up that thank you page, you're going to put an additional piece of code called an event code on that thank you page. And that's going to help you make sure that you are, when you spend money on conversions, you're actually getting conversions. I want you to plan out your content according to the booking journey. This should happen on paper first. Another big mistake that I see a lot of people make is they're trying to write their ads while they're in the ads manager. Don't do that. Map out your ads, what you want to do, what you need to create, what copy you need to write all your copy, write all your headlines, get all your assets together. Then when you get into set up your ads, it's going to take you probably an hour, hour and a half to set up your first campaign, uploading all of those headline variations and copy and creative and things like that. But that's just a technical exercise. You're not actually trying to hold everything in your head and write copy and remember all the image variations and things like that. So plan first. And then also keep staying active on the organic side. I mentioned a couple of times engagement audiences and lookalike audiences, and this can only really happen if you are also on the organic side building those audiences. The more engagement you have organically on your channels, the more you can get your ad spend down because you can create those custom audiences. So thank you for being with me today. If you would like a recording of this presentation, the slide deck and a recording of it that will live on forever, you can text Mountainside at 444-999. This will also enroll you in an email list where I will be sharing additional videos, especially technical videos. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about how to set up Google Tag Manager and how to find your business manager ID and things like that. So I'll be sharing some more easy technical videos through that list. Also, if you ever have any questions, you can contact me through that list. And in the future, I will likely be doing some Facebook Lives, maybe setting up a Facebook group to help support you on your journey. So if that all sounds good to you, please text MTN SIDE to 444-999. I'll see you soon.